What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. I'm Jamie. This is Headbanging Through It, a podcast where we talk about mental health and heavy metal and other hard shit. It's January, you guys. We are knee deep in January. It is so close to being the end of January. I can fucking feel it. I'm excited for it to be over. I am not thrilled that February is coming next. February is usually like the hardest fucking month for me to get through. So I am sitting a little in fear of that right now. I just want to give everyone an update on like how I'm doing. I hit a bit of a wall. I was doing pretty good through, I feel like most of January, the first 2 weeks. And then I woke up on the weekend one morning and I felt like complete shit and I couldn't get out of bed. And I was like, well, what the fuck? Like, where'd that come from? I don't know what happened. I feel, working like pretty avidly on doing all the things that I personally know how to do that work for me to keep my mental health, regular, in check, like, on a level that's like normal, quote unquote, whatever that means, whatever the fuck that means, right? And so I was kind of pissed when I woke up and I was like, I feel like shit. I felt like shit for a few days and then I was like, maybe I'm just tired. It's fine. I'll just like keep going and, do these things and I'll go to the gym and I've been going to acupuncture, which has been fucking awesome. I'm skiing and I'm like, I'll snap out of it. I'll be okay. And then like a week went by and I was like, fuck, I am not snapping out of it. Yeah. And it took me, of course, I say this all the time, right? Like I didn't realize I was like kind of in a bit of a dip until I kind of came up a bit. And then I was like, oh, I guess I'm just like not fucking feeling very good. And then I tried to record a couple of podcasts for you guys and I couldn't record podcasts. I did not take into consideration the fact that like my mental health will impact my ability to record podcasts. So that's been fun. I've realized that, when my mental health is like a little bit low, then my clarity is fucked and my focus is fucked. And getting words out that make sense is like not something that I'm very good at when my mental health is shitty. So all the learning, right? Like this is all new to me. I would love to stay consistent for you guys. I am very like pumped to do these podcasts. I think it's really good for me. I think it's like important to have these conversations. And yeah, with that, I guess I did not really realize that it may impact. I knew it would have there would be like a bit of fallout with my mental health depending on what I'm talking about, of course, right? Like my PTSD and my anxiety, and some things will like trigger, my nervous system reactions. But I didn't take into consideration the fact that like if I hit a bit of a wall or like go into that bit of depression fog, that I wouldn't be able to record, right? Like I just thought, oh, I'll fucking deal with shit as it comes up. And like, if I have a bad day, I'll just like take a minute. But depression is like not something that you can really just like switch off. So yeah, so that was like a bit of a learning curve for me. And I guess these things are just going to happen. I would love to be able to be consistent. That is my goal. However, I don't fucking know how to do that, right? So if I go into like a bit of a dip, sometimes my dips will last weeks. And then I'm just like all over the place. So it just is going to be what it is. I'm going to do my best for you guys. I also don't want to put like too much pressure on myself because pressure and stress can trigger my anxiety, which then like sets my nervous system into overload. And then I just completely shut down and then I will like not be able to do anything. So yeah, that's fun. Just trying to figure out some balance with that, but I'll move through it. This is all like, I feel like with my mental health, I will continue to learn new things every day. And I am always open to just like finding ways to fucking figure it out because I do not want to stop myself from doing things. That is the number one priority in my life, is like that I don't want it to shut my fucking life down. Right. And that actually moves me into the topic that I want to discuss today, which is saying no. And I know that I have been like pretty avid about like how much I say fucking no in my life to things. And I want to dig a little bit more into that because yes, I do say no a lot. And I also still say yes to things, right? So I'm not like a hard no to fucking everything. I say that a lot because I'm just making fun of myself, right? Because that's just how I fucking cope with my life. But I don't say no to everything. And I want to dig into like having a conversation around the power of saying no when it is like the right choice for your health. So that's what I want to dig into today. But I did want to like just discuss how I've been doing lately. And if I do have a couple of weeks where I'm not doing good, I will post and let you guys know. I am going to do my best to make sure that I get a podcast up every week for you guys. That is my fucking goal. I do hope that I hit that goal. I also now know that sometimes I may have to just adjust things as I go, depending on how I'm doing. And I do want to have like a more in depth conversation about depression because it is the season, right? Like seasonal depression has become a regular part of my life every year now. And I do struggle with it quite a bit. I was trying to record a podcast about depression for you guys in the last couple of weeks, and I did attempt it a couple of times. I cannot talk about depression while I'm in a dip. So, all the learning, right? I also know that when I'm not feeling great, my mind is just like not working properly. So, I should have known. And I feel like after 10 years of dealing with this shit, I should like understand it a little bit more or see things better or know when things are happening. And I will dig into that when I do talk about those like different pieces of depression and the layers and the depths of it. But when you're in that, when you're like in that bit of fog, you really fucking just like can't see anything. You just have no clarity. That's the best way that I can describe it, is just there's no fucking clarity around anything. And I think that's why it's so hard to just like come out of it, right? Because sometimes you don't know how bad it is. You don't know you're even in it. I feel like there's so many things that we could bring up with depression. And it would be great to have a conversation with someone else about it. So I'm hoping to bring in my best friend, Kristen. We did previously attempt to record a podcast about depression together. However, that's the one that didn't work out. So I did talk to her last week and I'm like, I really fucking want to talk about this, but I can't talk about it on my own because I can't get my words out. I feel like I'm not making sense. So she's going to come back and we're going to do another one. And I think it'll be a much better podcast that way anyway, because Kristen is like, well, she's this bright, fucking, shiny, lovely, positive, happy ray of sunshine in my life. And her perspective on things is completely different than mine in the way that, like, when she copes with anything that is difficult in her life, she is really good at putting like a positive spin on everything. It'll just be interesting to hear another perspective on how you can look at things when you're going through something difficult, right? And we're all different. We don't all move through things in the same way. And there is not one fucking clear answer to each problem that we go through. And she brings in just a completely different dynamic. It's definitely not the way that I move through things, but I find it very refreshing to hear. But anyways, we'll talk about that. We'll have a very candid conversation about how we move through our dark moments. She has dealt with lots in her life through her own trauma and just like in her family. So I think it'll be a great conversation. I really want to dig into like the different pieces of depression and what I've been through in my own personal journey and just like how there are different fucking depths to it, right? Like I feel like the last couple weeks I've been in like maybe what I would call like stage 1 depression, where it's not like you're not like down in the fucking deep dark pits, but you're like feeling a little fucking gray and foggy and like you've hit a bit of a wall and kind of stuck, right? Yeah, and just like that depression is not just fucking sadness. There's so many other pieces of it. But anyways, I will have a podcast about that. I definitely should not record mental health podcasts when my mental health is not in top notch, but also that is just part of it. So moving on, today I do want to talk about saying no and the power of saying no. Also, just be really clear with you guys, when I say I fucking say no to everything, I really don't say no to everything. Not everything I say is literal. And also like my life shifts all the time, right? So after my mental health crash in 2016, that just changed everything for me, right? I became really reclusive and I shut down in a lot of ways. I went from being a very outgoing, very social, very actively like out in society person to basically a fucking hermit. And it was a really weird transition for me. It changed a lot of pieces of who I am forever. And with that, there was like a lot of unknown aspects of how I was going to come out of that. And the exploration and all of the different like avenues that people throw at you for what they think that you should do, even like our medical system and the way that doctors and physicians want you to move through things is really fucking overwhelming. I didn't really feel like I knew what to do in any of those spaces. When your mental health is just completely plummeted, you have nowhere to go, right? So when people are coming at you saying, like, oh, you should try this, or your doctor says, I want you to go on meds, your therapist says, I want you to try this, feeling like you need to do all of these things to feel better is a lot to take in. I have found that pressure to feel like I need to like try all the things that people tell me to try or do to feel better is like, if I'm not doing all of it, or if I haven't tried everything, then I'm failing. That's really hard on my mental health too, right? So I've had to work through a lot of layers of that over the years of feeling like, oh God, I'm not doing enough to try and feel better or, be cured. Like none of those things sit well with me. I'm sorry that I have so many fucking air tags. I just don't have like the right word that would fit in that space. And people, it's just something that people say, right? And I should maybe sit down and work on like finding better words to use. But the words like get better upset me. So I don't want to say that all the time. But also my brain is like, I don't know what else to say. So that is just what's coming out. Now I've lost track of my thought. Anyways, so feeling all of this pressure to like do all of these different things and try all of these different things out was so fucking overwhelming that it was like shutting my health down even more. Having to go on meds was a piece of that was a struggle already. And then people come at you with like, well, you should meditate and you should go to yoga and have you tried this and have you tried that? And like, oh, I know this person that specializes in this that you should go see and have you tried this and do this and do that. And it becomes just a lot to hear all of the time. I just like had to find a way through it that made sense to me. And so there is a difference between saying no because your mental health is like so bad that you can't physically get there, and just saying no because you don't fucking want to do it, right? There's a fine line there, and life is all about balance, right? And I do not want to say no to things that are good for me. So I have worked really hard at trying to find my way through saying yes to things that are good for me and that will like help me when I'm feeling stuck. When I'm not doing well, I want to hide in my house and then I don't want to say yes to anything. But saying yes to like going for a walk with my friends or going to a family fucking dinner where I'm going to socialize with people that I love is good for me. Going on a ski day is good for me. Going outside and doing something is good for me. So I have to message myself all the time and make sure that I'm like not shutting down and saying no to everything just because I feel like I don't want to fucking do anything, or I'm saying no to it because I actually like don't think that my mental health and my nervous system can handle it. But that also just depends on where I'm at with my mental health. And sometimes that's not always easy to see. So, how do you sort through that? I don't fucking know. Like, I really don't know. If I can't figure out how I'm doing, which is like a lot of the winter, I don't know how I'm doing. How do I figure out what I should say yes and what I should say no to? I don't know. Oh, fuck. But I also don't want to miss out on my life, right? Like, I went so far into recluse that I shut out the whole world for so long. And that was really bad for me. It was also very protective for me. I needed to put myself in this bubble so that I felt safe. And when everything was so bad with my mental health crash, I did not feel safe anywhere. And it took me a really long time to work through a lot of that stuff, which, I went to therapy for. EMDR really fucking helped me through a lot of that stuff. I should do a podcast on EMDR if you guys don't know what that is. It's something that is done in therapy by specific counselors and therapists that are trained in it. And I've done it a couple of different ways, but basically it is a way of alleviating some of the really heightened stress and anxiety around a traumatic incident. It's just like a repetitive way of going through it again and again and again until it doesn't feel so fucking scary. And you can go look it up, but I would like to have a conversation, a deeper conversation around EMDR one day. I went from like never fucking sleeping to sleeping sometimes to sleeping through the night eventually because it helped me so much. It was also really fucking hard to get through. It was not my favorite thing. And I had a lot of stress around continuing to do it. And I did take lots of breaks from it because it's intense. And it basically makes you relive the traumatic event again and again and again. And for a lot of people, that sounds fucking horrible. It doesn't feel like it would be a good way to deal with something. I'm also a big advocate now for being vocal and communicative about when you go through hard shit. It feels better to discuss it than to hide it. And I think that that's why it works so well, is because it forces you to move fucking through it, like hardcore move through it and face all of the scary shit that is involved in that really hard moment or event. I think a lot of people would run away from that because it sounds really fucking scary, and it is not easy. However, I would say that it is probably the thing that helped me the fucking most. But anyways, saying no. So I was completely shut down. I had to lock myself into a hole and I couldn't come out of that, right? And so it was a long time. I didn't leave my fucking house. And then once I got on meds and I started to feel a little bit like less shitty and like I could go back out into the world a little bit and my therapy was kicking in and I was at the gym, I started to slowly like rebuild my fucking life from nothing. And I was in this space of like trying to figure out what the fuck I was going to do with my life. I was in my mid to late 30s and I just was like, now what? Right? I've only ever done one job, which was working in emergency services. And if you haven't listened to my previous podcast about my PTSD diagnosis, it's episode 3. You guys can go check it out. I delve more into like the specifics of that. But I only did one thing with my whole life, and that was work in emergency services and then like waitressed. I work in a small town where I know a lot of people through my job. And part of all of the like stress and anxiety and a big piece of my PTSD was like when I walked outside and when I went downtown, I would literally walk by people that I have files on in the office, right? So it didn't feel safe for me sometimes to even walk downtown. And there were lots of pieces and parts of town that I avoided for a very long time that were involved in files that were really hard for me to process. And I would change my route on my way home so that I didn't have to go by certain places, right? So being out in like any sort of public or like customer service environment for me was like a deal breaker. Once I won my WorkSafe claim, I was told that I was like never allowed to go back to working in any sort of job that was related to that field, whether it was like in any avenue, like the court side, the police side, like even fire, any kind of related aspect of that, I was to completely steer clear of, like for life. And so that was really hard on me too, because I was like, well, maybe I could work, in something else that's kind of like close to it, a lawyer's office or this or that. But there's so many ties and pieces of where my diagnosis reached that I wasn't even really clear on back then, that I look at now and I'm like, well, that makes sense. But back then I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? What other jobs can I do with this skill set? Really, it was a very specific area that I was trained in, right? And so I didn't want to go to working in any sort of public service career or job. So if I can't be out in the public, and being in like a controlled office space also was really hard on my system of feeling like if I had to do too many things, it would trigger me in the same way that it triggered my old job. And I just didn't know what I could possibly do. I needed to have something that I could like work at my own pace at. I had no fucking clue what that looked like. I ended up going back to school. I've always been into like photography and writing, in the arts in general. And I had been like dipping back into just like using my camera a bit more. And then I was looking around, WorkSafe was going to retrain me. And I needed to find something that felt good in my heart that I could say yes to that wasn't going to bring me back down and lock me back in my fucking house. I ended up going into the digital arts and new media program at the local campus of the college that's in my town. And that was a 2-year program. I went into it to hone in on my photography skills and learn a bit about videography. There were other aspects of the course that were in there. There was like 3D modeling and animation, which I did not love. And then there was like some web coding and web design. And then we did like art history, which was super cool. We did some painting. And then there was like graphic design, which was really fucking hard. I found it the hardest to wrap my brain around. And then at the end of the program, it ended up being the thing that I fucking love the most. And I still love it so much. And now I'm a graphic designer. That's what I do. But it was a really hard process for me to like go back to school at a late age and then try and figure out like, what am I supposed to fucking do with myself? I had to say no to like 1,000 things, and I had to fight with WorkSafe through all of that to try and figure out what I could do that wouldn't bring me back to like a place of feeling like I was in absolute fucking chaos and living in like fight or flight mode all the time, right? I just got myself out of my fucking house. I can't go back in there. And being in school was really hard too. The pressure of being in school and the assignments and stuff were like really hard on my nervous system. I had lots of breakdowns. I spent a lot of time in bathroom stalls fucking sobbing. I would get up and leave in the middle of class and go home. I had like many breakdowns in my teacher's offices, like saying like, I can't fucking do this. I don't know how I survived it. My daughter was also 5 and just started kindergarten. I was up until like midnight some nights doing homework and then getting up at fucking super early trying to get her to school and trying to get myself to school. I was always fucking late. I felt like every time I walked in the room, I was just a fucking disaster. I just don't know how I survived that. It was really hard. It was a different pressure than feeling like that intensity of being at work, but it did definitely push me into corners of my mental health that were hard on me. And I broke down a lot. It was really fucking hard. And I almost quit. I did almost quit. I was like, I can't do this. I need to fucking step away. I was really lucky that I had teachers that were so fucking supportive in that space that were like, you know what? We've all been through hard times and we've got you. If you need extra space with this, if you need an extension, you're also dealing with like being a mom and you have this extra small person to take care of at home. So just let us know. Just come talk to us. We're here to help you. And that is like the only reason I fucking graduated, really. So thank you to those lovely humans that like got me through that. But yeah, so I had to fight with WorkSafe. I had to say no to a bunch of shit. I had to really like dig my heels into figuring out how I could survive back in the world without feeling like I was going to fall apart every time I left my fucking house. This seemed like a space that I could grow into. Photography has always been just a safe space for me. You know, I get to like be free to express myself in a creative way. And then once I dug into like typography and graphics and like building designs and all the pieces of that, it like something clicked on in my brain that I've been missing for my whole fucking life, I think, really. I've always been a creative soul and I've always like wanted to feed that and always felt like I wasn't really allowed to. And I also grew up at a house where there wasn't a lot of conversations around like careers and potential avenues of success in the arts. It was a very like clearly stated to me in my youth that being an artist isn't a real job, right? It's not a career. There's not success in like doing those things. And so I was kind of always steered away from it. And that is unfortunate. And just, I think the way that that generation was raised, I'm not really sure. There was a huge piece of me that was like, I don't know if I can do this because like, am I going to be enough? Am I going to be enough for my family? And I think a lot of people struggle with that, but it was a really big fucking deal for me to go into something like that when I was told my whole life that it would not bring me financial success, basically. And I think that there are lots of pieces around that and lots of conversations around like being an artist that we could discuss more, because there are so many successful artists in so many different careers in this world that I didn't even fucking know about until I was in my 30s. So yes, you can be successful as an artist. Just throwing that out there for anyone that didn't know. So I said yes to school. I said yes to being retrained into a field that was really scary for me to get into by putting like all of my heart and soul into something that I wasn't 100% sure was going to bring me success in the end. And it was all really scary. Just since my diagnosis, I've been in a bubble of feeling like I need to protect myself, not just from the outside world, because I know that it's scary, but also my nervous system can only take so much stimulation before it completely fucking shuts down, right? So I have to be really careful about how I move through the world and the choices that I make with that. So it is a constant conversation with myself and a fine balance between saying no when I need to keep my nervous system protected, and saying no to something that like may be beneficial to my health. And I still find that really hard to navigate most of the time. And I've said this in my previous podcast, most of the time I'm just a hard fucking no to everything. And then I will sit back, I'll process it, I'll go through like the pros and cons and whether or not I think it might be a good fit for me, and then choose to either do it or not do it after that. Usually in the moment, I'm going to be like a hard no, because my nervous system doesn't let me just like jump into a yes really that often anymore, because the fear of the potential unknowns around that is too much for me to handle, right? Like even going to a restaurant used to be like, yeah, let's go for dinner. But now I'm like, where are we going? What time? And then I have to think about that environment and if I can handle the noise and if I can handle potentially running into somebody that might trigger my nervous system. If that does happen, am I in a strong enough, stable enough mindset with my current mental health status to be able to handle that? So layers and layers and layers and layers. And if I'm not feeling good, I'm just going to say no. And if I am feeling okay, then I still need enough time to think about it. My brain needs to like just work through it, right? And like adjust to the idea of like, can we do this? I can do this. And giving myself a pep talk about like how it's going to be okay. And if I'm in a really, really good headspace, then I don't have to go through that as in depth. We just moved recently into a new house, and around Christmas time, the people that live in the neighborhood got together for like a little chill Christmas thing. And I was like, oh, fuck, like I can't do that. And then a couple days went by and I was like, okay, yeah, I can do that, right? Like I should meet the fucking neighbors. Community is really fucking important. But I had to really like work through all the steps of doing that. Also, like being around alcohol. I don't want to be around alcohol. I don't want to be in an environment with a bunch of people that are drinking, because that also like triggers me really badly and is something that I'm working really hard to keep away from. And can I be in that environment with all of that stuff going on? There's lots of things that are going through my brain. And so I really just want to say no. And I did kind of like tell myself I'm not fucking doing that. And then I was like, you know what? I was feeling really strong in December. I was like, I'm good. I can do this. And then I was like, right before we were leaving, like, what do I do? Can I just bring my water bottle? Like, is it weird if I just bring like my water bottle to a party? You know, if I don't bring my own water bottle, will someone give me water? Like, is someone going to like let me have water in their house? Is everyone only going to be drinking booze? Am I going to be the only person not drinking alcohol? Is that going to be weird? Are people going to be weirded out like by that? And just like kind of spiraling around it really, when like normally I wouldn't give a fuck. I'm so much better at being in those situations where I can just say like no to booze. But when it's a group of people that you don't know, and I think like I'm comfortable because I'm usually around the same people. And so if I don't have a drink, it's not a big deal because everyone knows like I'm not drinking. But in a new environment where there's like all these people that don't know me, is it going to be a thing? And so I kind of spiraled about it for a second. Then I got annoyed with myself because I was like, why am I thinking about this so much? Like it's nobody's fucking business and who cares? I'm just like not used to being in social environments anymore. And I have so much stress about being in social environments that I just got in my fucking head about it. And my husband was like, nobody's going to care. And he was right. Like nobody gave a fuck. Like nobody said anything to me and nobody questioned it at all. Like who fucking cares? It doesn't matter. No one gave a shit. We went to the party. We were there for a couple of hours and it was like not a big deal at all. I think it's also like a good lesson to learn that, right? That like we tell ourselves so many things that are irrational and untrue over and over again. And why, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not about them and what they think. It's about me and what I need. And I know that I am going to be fine in that situation by like not having to fucking have a drink because they're not living my life. But normally I would say no to a situation like that because there's too many unknown variables. But I talked myself into it. It ended up being great. Like the neighbors are great. So that's how my nervous system works, through like having to process things, taking each thing as it comes and trying to evaluate it in a calm, logical, rational way as best I can, given the state that I'm in. I feel like I'm in a much like clearer space about being able to figure out what I need and what I don't need. I also don't want to miss out on life. And I do not want to let my mental health issues stop me from existing in the world and doing things that I love. So there's also that piece of it, right? Of getting a bit firm and fierce with myself and pushing myself in healthy ways. I have definitely pushed myself in unhealthy ways in the past for many years of my life. There are ways that you can push through that are healthy and ways where you can take a step back and it's okay to say, not today. But it's balance, right? Balance. Life is all about fucking balance. If you're too far this way and you're too far that way, things just fall apart. That's my experience. And so I'm trying to just like find the middle, saying no when I need to say no. And it's a healthy choice for me to say no. And then saying yes when it helps me move into the world and do something that's good for my fucking soul. Like saying yes to skiing and saying yes to a walk with my girlfriends when I haven't been outside in 3 fucking weeks. Saying yes to, a quick road trip out of town to go see my fucking mom or something. And just making sure that I get out of my fucking house and I have social interactions and I'm moving my body and I'm doing things where I'm not stuck inside my fucking house in the same goddamn room for too many days on end. Because if I keep saying no to everything and I don't leave my house, I am going to fall the fuck apart. Your mental health just plummets, right? Like we need to be amongst other people. Like, how are you ever going to grow and move through things and have experiences and live fucking life? We're just not here for that long. So I don't want to spend all of my days in a dark fucking cloud. I really don't. I say this all the time, but I do. I get really fucking tired of my mental health issues. It's not fun to deal with this stuff every single fucking day. And yes, I do need breaks. And yes, I do have times where I need to just stay inside my house for a while. And when I do that, it's also like not always good for me. So I don't know. It just feels like counterintuitive, right? Like I need to be inside so that I'm like resetting and recharging and helping myself move through the fucking dark spaces that I'm in. But also what's good for me is to get out of my house and to go outside and to like interact with people and do something else. And those two things, they crash all the time. And I think that that in itself is like where the mental health battles really lie, right? Like I want to be at home in bed and I'm just like completely shut down and dysfunctional, but I also know that like if I can break out of that and push myself through it, that I'm going to feel better. So I guess that's why it's always like a battle and a struggle and like, those like the back and forth pieces of your mental health ups and downs. It really is us fighting against ourselves. Sometimes you just don't know what you need. It's hard to see whether like I just need some rest or I just need to like push myself to get the fuck out of bed and go out, because there definitely are pieces of my mental health where I have to take a step back and find quiet space and just allow myself to fucking calm down and reset. And with that, sometimes I don't realize that I'm in a bit of a dip with that and a mental health slump, and then I fucking crash. And it just is this cycle, right? I also should have a podcast about the cycles because it does feel like it just goes around in a circle over and over again. And even though you're coming up to like that arc of the circle and you're kind of come back down to the beginning and you're just like, no, it just keeps going. And I have worked on many pieces of like the cycles that I do have in my life in therapy and retraining my brain and breaking those cycles. And I have. If anyone has the fucking cure to, breaking that mental health cycle of like in and out of darkness, let me know. I don't think there's like a one answer for that, obviously. Otherwise, we would all be fucking not depressed, right? But yeah, there is power in saying no to things, you guys, when it's like empowering you to protect your body and your personal space and your mental health in a way that makes you feel safe, right? And with that, also, if we say no to everything all the fucking time, we miss out on life. We miss out on opportunity. And it can hold us back from maybe meeting that person that helps us get through the next stage of our life, or potentially like is the person that you fucking marry or becomes your best fucking friend, right? Like if we hide ourselves away all the time, then we don't have access to anything. And without experiences, there's no growth. I am a huge advocate advocate for not allowing mental health to be the reason that you don't fucking do everything. It's not an excuse to not live life. How we choose to spend our time in this life is up to us. I do strongly believe that we all have something to offer this fucking earth. If we're hiding within our shells and using our mental health as an excuse to like not do anything, then there are pieces of the world that are missing out on your fucking beauty, your strengths. From a young age, I've always wanted to like help people. And I always thought that through my career, I was doing that in a way that was impactful because I was like working in emergency services. You know, at the end of the day, I could feel good about like, oh, I helped that person. There were so many pieces to my job that made me feel like I was helping the world become a better place or whatever, like being in a space where it was helpful. And that is a very sort of like black and white way of looking at helping people, right? Like police help people. Doctors help people, you know, lawyers help people. And through all of that and through my mental health fucking crash and the rebuilding of my whole fucking life, I have also realized that there are so many ways that we can help people that aren't so literal, and showing up for people in other ways and just even like putting things out in the world that someone can connect to can also help them, right? Like how music fucking helps me, how like painting helps me, how just having conversations with people helps me, being a fucking mechanic. Like, thank you for fixing my fucking car. Now I can drive today. It doesn't have to be like helping kids, you know, at a food bank or helping the homeless. There are lots of pieces and lots of layers to the world and how we look at the world and how we can connect with people and help them. So instead of feeling like I need to save the world and make it a better place, I have moved now into this space of understanding that you can help the people just around you every day by showing up for them in small ways. I help people every day with like their businesses because I do graphic design, and I have a lot of joy in doing that. And I feel like that has brought me like a bigger level of feeling like I've connected to people and helped someone as a more one-on-one impact. And it's just not one way to look at everything. And I think with that, we all have a gift. If we're stifling ourselves and we're lost in our mental health battles, then we're also like depriving the world of our gifts and our beauty. I've struggled to work through that quite a bit in my life as well. So moving from like this space of being in my 20s and like saying yes to everything and partying and having the best time of my life and being crazy and doing all the things and going all the places and having all the fun, to like mental health crash, saying no to everything, and then trying to fucking figure out who I am as a human, locking myself away from society for years, and then having to try and come back out and figure out what my life looks like, and just figuring out a way that I can still exist in society and not miss out on things and be there for the people that I love. But I'll always say yes to a heavy metal concert. I'm waiting for my brother to tell me if we're going to one this year. We've gone to one together for the last couple of years, and it's become like this really fun sort of like brother-sister tradition thing that we have inadvertently started. So if you're listening, I hope we're going to do that this year. Can we set something up? Like, where are we going? I better be fucking cool. So I hope that that podcast makes sense to you guys. I don't want to put out there to everybody that I'm just like a fucking hard no to everything. I say no to everything. I don't do anything. I have to just like work through the motions of what that looks like in my body with my nervous system and all of my mental health issues. It is a process. And it doesn't mean that I'm a hard no to everything all the time. It just means that I have to figure out what it looks like before I do it. Even with concerts, I have to psych myself up. If I'm getting on a plane, I have to like go through so many stages of like being able to talk myself into it. Getting on a plane and going to a heavy metal concert is like a fucking nightmare for me. But also, I will say yes. I will have some setbacks with my mental health doing that stuff because it pushes the limits of what I know I'm capable of and where my anxiety levels go when I go through stuff like that. And I will still do it. I'm still capable. I will do hard things. And I'm a huge fucking advocate for not allowing the mental health side of my fucking life to stop me from existing and going out in the world and finding joy and having these moments that fucking matter. And I know it looks different for everyone. I can only speak about my own experiences and hope that like if I talk about it, it might motivate somebody else to like talk to somebody somebody about it. Maybe it'll help get you out of your house. I don't fucking know. I have a lot of friends that have physical, like chronic health issues that don't allow them to do a lot of things. And with that, their mental health has different levels of crashes. Everyone's going through different things. I'm not saying that just because this is my experience, this is going to be your experience, or that you should do the things that I'm doing. Or that I have all the answers, because I say this all the time. I definitely fucking do not. Most days, I'm not even sure how I'm doing. So, like, I'm not here to give advice. I'm not here to tell anyone how to live their life or like what they should and should not be doing with their mental health stuff. I'm just sharing my experiences, and I will probably say that over and over again because I want to be really clear about that. I just want to wrap up the podcast today by saying thank you to a few people. And I usually do this at the beginning, but I forgot to just say thank you to the fucking amazing humans in my life that have been reaching out to me lately. And you know who you are. I've had some really amazing and like in-depth, honest conversations around mental health with some people that have been in my life for a long time. It helps me feel seen in my mental health. It helps me feel more connected to the fucking awesome people that I have in my life. And it just helps me realize that everyone's going through something. We all have shit going on, and like lots of different levels of lots of different things. And it's okay to talk about it. I am always open to talking about hard shit, you guys. Fucking always. I 100% of the time fully believe that it helps us heal. And I will never stop speaking strongly about that because I blocked so much shit into my life for so fucking long, and it did nothing but hold me down and hurt me. And as soon as I started realizing that I could pull some of that stuff out, and that I could like look in the mirror and say like, yeah, I went through that. It was really fucking hard. It was awful, and talk about it and admit all of the emotions and the turmoil and the distress that comes around admitting how bad you're doing is also really freeing. And for everyone out there that believes that like putting all of your stuff in a box and pushing it down and locking it away for, eternity is what makes you strong. Like, I'm strong, I can hold it in, I got this, I won't feel anything. I just want to throw this at you. Do you know what's harder than locking everything into a box and like pushing it down and then pretending it's not there? Opening it back up, pulling everything out, and looking at it face on. If you want to talk about strength, let's talk about that, because that is fucking strength. And vulnerability is not weakness. It is bravery. Showing all of the pieces of yourself is the strongest thing that you can ever do. Male, female, I don't give a fuck. If we can look at our demons and we can face them and we can face them head on, then we could do anything. And if you don't believe me, give it a try. I can tell you at the end of the day, it is going to fucking definitely feel better. It'll feel really bad for a while, and then it will feel better. What are you going to do about it? I don't know, man. I mean, it's your choice. You could be buried with them for all I care. It is really not up to me. It's up to you. And we're all on our own path. And where we go and how we move through our shit is totally up to us. All I'm doing is talking about it. All I want to do is talk about it. I just want to share my experiences and what I've been through and see if it resonates with anyone and make some fucking connections through it and just talk about mental health shit. So that's where I'm going to wrap it up today, you guys. I don't even know if I said enough about saying no, but I do believe that like we have to show up for ourselves. Stay tuned for a conversation about depression with my friend Kristen. That should be coming up soon. And also for everyone that is listening to the episodes that are focused on heavy metal, I'm going to start recording episodes that have like clips of songs in them. Those can only be posted in Spotify for copyright reasons. So I'm creating a new channel called Headbanging Through It, the Metal Talks. If you want to go look for that and follow it, that's where you'll find like the full versions if I put music clips in them. The other ones, I'm going to be editing those parts out so that I can still have my podcast on Spotify and then in other places. I can't have clips of music all over the place. There's too many like copyright infringement issues, but Spotify will cover all of that stuff if I keep it under like a separate channel. I don't want my whole podcast under there because then it restricts like access to different places. And I want people to be able to find my episodes. So that is coming out. I've already created it. So it's out there if you want to go look for it and follow it. Also, if you guys are listening to these episodes and you resonate with it, you relate to it, please follow me on social media at Headbanging Through It on Instagram and Facebook. Please follow my channel on Spotify. I'm doing my best to connect with people and talk about mental health in an open, fucking raw, and honest way without the bullshit. So please share this with someone if you think it might help them with something. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you next time. Peace.